everyone, I'm back. This is part two of singing Q&A from March 27th. I'm going to be answering some questions in the YouTube comments, and I've gotten through some of them, but I'm going to answer the rest of them. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Justin. Yeah, so about the internet, it's crazy. It's a crazy phenomenon, and I don't know, I live in the middle of nowhere. So let's get right on with the questions. Okay, we were talking about tension, and this is really important to a lot of people, and I just really feel like we need to talk about it. So I'm going to make a video on this, but if you're experiencing vocal tension, chances are it's a huge roadblock in your singing. Sometimes you don't even know you have it. And here's the crazy thing, it can be caused by anything from allergies to hormones to over singing to, like we were talking about in the other video, transitioning from warm ups to singing on words. Um, Coffee definitely does not cause tension. Just kidding. You might have acid reflux, in which case, acid reflux might cause tension if you are uncomfortable. That's a thing. I knew a lot of opera singers in college who stopped drinking coffee because they had acid reflux, and acid reflux is a problem. Uh, but personally, I will never stop drinking coffee. I don't care the cost. Okay, guys. So just know that if you have tension from any one of those things, it can impact your singing. And I had a really great comment from at happily anonymous girl, and you can check it out. She lays out her whole story about tension on my soft palate video, about unlocking the soft palate. And she talks about her horrible experience with how vocal tension was really the thing getting in her way, but nothing helped. Things like lift the soft palate and try this. Nothing helped her until she did this stretching. And she talks about the stretches in this comment. So I encourage you to read it if it interests you. I will summarize it. She talks about kind of drooping your head down and sort of doing the touch the toes thing and then moving from side to side. That really helped her a lot. And doing jaw stretches. So literally doing a jaw a stretch, and you hold it like that, and you can also massage your jaw. I'll tell you what, this stuff works, and it worked for her. She said this was really the thing that I needed. And there's so much shame around tension sometimes because you're like, "Oh, do I just need to lift my soft belt more? Do I just need to breathe more?" Well, it might be that you just are riddled with this muscular thing going on. That's a thing. I mean, I want to be careful and not be woo woo about it. Like, oh yeah, just do a little this, and now you have no tension. But it could really help you. When I was in college, I got a jaw massage, and um, yes, this is the live again now. This is part two. Part one, the internet was against us. Probably crashed because of all the people trying to watch this wonderful live. So many people. But you guys, the OGs, y'all told me that it was crashing. So oh my gosh, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. I know it's really like late for you where you are. So glad you're here. So anyway, the other day I was experiencing tension myself, went for a walk, came back, I was feeling a lot better. So movement is huge. I encourage you, if you have tension, really don't take movement lightly. It can change your singing. It can change your singing so much, especially this movement with your head. There's some real science in that. So moving your head and unlocking this. A lot of people, I'll say, move your head like this, and they'll go like this. Okay, that's me. I'm like that too. But we really have to unlock that. Okay. Anyway, this is another question I had at Chris Joel 2870. Ma'am, I want to know, why does my voice feel choky when I sing? Okay, yeah. Hey, tenors. This is tough. All of us choky feeling. First, I gotta say, is it just when you sing, or is it when you talk too? Is the chokiness when you talk as well, or is it just when you sing? Here's what I recommended. Start with your speaking voice. Is your speaking voice open and free and relaxed? If so, how can we leverage your speaking voice in your singing voice? How can we make that transition? Because when you're singing, if it's something's changing, if you're starting to use your throat muscles, if you're starting to have jaw tension or tongue tension, then it's you're not making a very smooth transition, and that's very normal, but you want to try to get back to your free speaking voice. And how can you sing basically in your speaking voice? It's a really common approach, but it's easier said than done. It took me a really long time to figure that out myself. Okay, and I said movement will help as well. Okay, we talked about that. A lot of people slide their tongue back when they sing or clench their jaw when they sing. Why do people do that? It's human nature. You're trying to hear yourself. Your body goes, "Oh, I'm trying to hear myself inside your head." So you try to close off the sound by sliding your tongue back or by clenching your jaw. It's like you're trying to hear it in your head. That could be one reason. So you when you sing, you have to really be conscious of that, and you can see right now I'm yapping, and you can see where my tongue is. So when I'm teaching a singer, I look at their mouth, and I try to keep tabs on that, because you wanna try to keep it more relaxed than when you talk. You wanna kinda relax all of this. Pretend you just went to the dentist. Plug your nose while you sing. This does not work for everyone, but it really works for a lot of people. Guess who I stole this one from? Who watches Cheryl Porter? I love her. I highly recommend watching her videos. She is a real deal. She is a real deal. I love watching Cheryl Porter videos, and I stole this from her, and I've used it for a long time with my students because it works. Plugging your nose when you sing to check in with the nasality. It's one of those tricks that if you do that, it can actually help fix a lot of things with just that one thing. So if you're singing a song and it's nasally, oh yeah, it just slipped in a nasal, that means you're using your nasal a little too much, and you're kind of using it as a crutch. If you plug your nose, now you are forced to lift your soft palate a little bit more and use your breath a little bit more. You're forced to. And so plugging your nose helps with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. It really helps with placement, and it's a really good check. Even if you're like, I don't have a nasally voice, if you're straining, if you're straining, plug your nose. You might find that, hey, actually, I am using my nasality a little too much, and this will help me pop it up and use my breath more instead. Uh, so, anyway, that it was a great question. Okay, who wants to know about distortion? Guys, this question when I got asked on my Powerful Rock Vocals video, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, I'll read you guys the question. At Camellias, would be cool to hear your tips on adding false chord distortion for grit. I think this is much more common for rock singers. Fry is usually used for actual screams or for a pitched scream. Yes. What you demo in this video isn't really the same thing where you just fry slide in or out of a note. Great comment. Okay. Yes. When I did that video, you can watch it. Great for rock singing. I really think it's good. It's what I tell everyone when they're first starting out. Uh, Finding that power. You want to find your mixed voice. You want to find your mixed voice. That's how you do it. You want to add grit? Start with vocal fry. Okay. Level 2, distortion. That's the next thing. That's a very particular sound. I really respect this commenter because like most rock, I think it depends on what you listen to. If you're listening to like pop rock, not a ton of distortion. If you're listening to like Nickelback or metal or Chris Cornell, that's different. There's so much rock. I mean, technically the Beatles is rock at some point, so it's really a wide range. And here's what distortion is. Uh the off voice, and I'm going to try to describe it, but you should really take lessons from a distortion teacher. So that is when your false folds, which are these, it's above your vocal cords. So you've got your vocal cords down here in your larynx, and then you've got the folds that are above that. They vibrate from sound or from the air in a way that's like on top of your sound. So the way to feel it is if you're not supposed to do this a lot because you can collapse along making this noise, but okay, did you hear that? If you do the reverse, the air going out, that's the flappy thing. Not to be confused with vocal fry, which is down here. Hero, it's like thinner and lighter and cracklier. That's what I typically use instead of distortion. Because for this exact reason, distortion is more advanced, it's harder to do. It's a lot harder. It's harder to keep it in check as well. So that's kind of my rundown, quick and dirty rundown of distortion. It's not very in depth because, quite frankly, I am not the distortion queen. This particular commenter is taking lessons from Aliki Catrio. I don't know how to say her last name. Um, and yeah, he's doing the right thing because I teach basics and mixed voice and not metal or not distortion vocals, but pretty much everything else. So, um, okay. See, this is all right. Now, please go ahead, jump in if y'all have any questions. I'm gonna keep going through the questions of the week, though. Of course, I still have a few more. Um, and I just one more thing about rock singing and distortion. I say this sometimes. There's a lot of ways to get similar results with different techniques. That's why you hear so many conflicting advice about singing, but somehow everybody's out there singing. You know what I mean? It's like I I'm very much about teaching yourself, doing what feels good, being gentle on your voice, really keeping longevity in mind, and being scientific about it to a point, but really like doing a healthy route. Uh, and I think most teachers preach that, but we all kind of package things differently and even have different definitions of things. So, I think like it's really great to take bits and pieces from different teachers and to watch my rock video and go, "Oh, that's how I thread the needle," and then to go to another teacher and go, "Oh, this is how I add distortion." So that's kind of my overview. That's what I do when I'm trying to learn a new skill with singing that I don't know. Yeah. Okay. This helped my voice so much. This is at Katie official channel, and she's talking about my soprano alto warm up. That's a new warm up video that just went up. Um, she's asking, do you have tips for achieving vibrato riffs and runs? So the vibrato video is about to go up on Tuesday, and as far as riffs and runs go, I will definitely eventually do one on this, but I'll tell y'all right now. If you're learning riffs, I would say start with a basic uh, ah, just singing a up and down, ah. Try it on different vowels and slower. E. Do it on staccato. E, 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 e. You have to be a lot more precise. Something to keep in mind with riffs and runs. This is definitely a thread the needle type thing. So not too much pressure, okay? Sounds kind of dumb, slowed down like that, but that's the way you got to do it. Nail it down, get it precise, make sure it's not too loud or pushed out because it's hard to manage precision with riffs if you are have too much volume or too much space. That's why a lot of riffs you hear is typically like light and more in mixed voice because that's how you manage those fast moving notes and the precision. You also, this is a little hack, you can emphasize certain notes and that'll really clean up your riff. So if you're doing, oh, I pick those notes to emphasize, it's really going to clean it up. Oh, 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 and then you speed it up. Oh, oh, and then you can like add style, and this is a good thing to practice so you can change up the rhythm. Ah, you can really play with it and it'll really strengthen that riffs and runs muscle and that skill for you. Okay, and I think that we are caught up on the questions of the week. Boy, I am I am sweating from all of your questions this week. They've been so good. And really getting into the nitty-gritty and really making me think. I had to do a little bit of refreshing on some things. Please, by all means, ask your questions in the comments if you have any new ones, or I will come up with something that I want to go more in depth about. But of course, thank y'all again for those of you who went to the studio class. That was a really nice turnout and it was great meeting y'all in person. I'm sure I will do many more in the future. Um, and of course, if you really want more direct feedback, you could sign up for a lesson with me on my website, or I also take voice memos. So literally you just go on oliviapeck.com and there's an upload thing for uploading voice memos and it's super easy. Uh, or you could email me if you have any questions with that. If you're like, "Oh, I've had issues with international a couple usually international it's fine, but I have had some people go, "Oh, it's not working for me." And then they just emailed me and PayPal'd and it was fine. It worked great. Yeah. So thank you guys so much. Uh, I think that honestly, the theme of the week was tension, not just for the questions, but also in lessons. It's always a topic. So go ahead and test this if you can do this motion. And I want you to maybe look in the mirror or make a video of yourself, pull your phone up, use the black mirror, you know, my screensaver or whatever was on. But look at your reflection. Can you do this? Can you do this? Or are you going like this? If you cannot go like this, like really loosen your head, that is a great singing thing to work on. Try to do this while you sing. It's great for releasing tension and to sing. It's a hack for singing without tension. The thing that I like to say is like if you're moving, then you don't have tension. You can't have tension in a muscle that's actively moving around, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Same with jaw tension, moving around. Same with tongue tension, stick it out of your mouth. A lot of times the tension thing is like a domino effect. So if you've got tense shoulders, you got tense neck, you got tense jaw. So sometimes just doing one thing can really help unlock your tension. Yeah. So that's something I really, really recommend. Um, I don't know if I think we left off of this in part one of this live stream, part one. But we were talking about um microphones and stuff and recording yourself. So if you are trying to record yourself, then I recommend using your iPhone. If it sounds muffled, take your case off. If you want a microphone that's basic, that doesn't break the bank, I would definitely try the one I'm using now. If you go to my website, I have like all my affiliate links, oliviapeck.com there, and I put like all the stuff I use and recommend. So I recommend this USB microphone. I recommend this little windscreen. Very cheap, guys. But it works. If for your first microphone, it works and you plug it in. It's a USB. It just plugs right into your laptop. And then there's a pop filter. It's not this one. This one, I don't know where this came from, but it looks like this. And you just put it. Usually it has a thing you attach it. But pop filters are great for P sounds and plosives and stuff like that. Here's something interesting. And if you are having a popping noise in your audio, this is a new thing for me. You'll hear in some of my videos a popping noise. I thought it was a pop filter issue. Okay, I thought it was a pop filter. Turns out, um, it was a software issue. So make sure that you do some Googling, some YouTube University before you think, "Oh, it's a pop filter," or, "Oh, I need this." Because if you record yourself and then you're like, "I'm gonna make a little video," and add the audio in, uh, make sure that the audio is compatible with your video editing software, or else you're going to get that pop noise as well. So it might not be that you're blasting into the mic too loudly and you need a pop filter. That's what I thought. I started holding my mic down here and now I'm back to holding it up here because it might be a software issue. Like if you edit in iMovie, hint, hint, and you have a separate audio file that you're putting in to line it up, it's more compatible with AAC than MP3, that type of thing. So you want to kind of do your homework on that. Kevin, what makes the first word of a line sound like it's too harsh even though it's not being sung any harder than the last word of previous line? Ooh, do you have to back off initially to prevent this? So I think what you're talking about is, I heard that you're settled down, that you found a girl, and it's like your initial word is kind of loud and in not the placement you want, and then you're able to kind of ease into your placement and lighten it up. This is a pretty common thing. If you find that this is a case where your placement it's too harsh at first and you have to like ease into it, think about your setup when you start singing. Typically, you want to think of it visually, like instead of creeping up to grab the note, that you're landing on top of the note. So I'm already lifted. I already have a good little breath. I heard, and I'm thinking in my head, I want it to be lifted. I heard instead of how I'm kind of reaching for it. So you might have to think of something like, you might have to do a few, they call them vocalises before you sing. Ah, or if you want to do mix, wow. You might have to kind of get in the placement and practice like that for a while before you start singing. I do that. I'm going to tell you guys about it feels too aggressive. Try doing some vocal eases before you sing. "Ah, yee," different, things like that, and see if popping in before you sing helps when you drop in on the note, if that makes sense. You could try that, and I think, Kevin, you had mentioned before that you do use a microphone. That really helps as well, because it could be just like when you first start singing, you're just trying to hear yourself, and if you have the microphone and it's turned up so you can really hear it, you can really hear yourself, that might help. Um, I would practice, like, with a singing straw too, that can help with that, but slides are really good. Yeah, it's good to do before you start, singing. It kind of helps you, like, find it. Or something you could do, Kevin, this is what I recommend. You could practice singing the song higher than it is. So, let's say I'm having a hard time with, "I heard that you've settled down." I'm feeling like I'm reaching. Practice it super high, unnecessarily high. "I heard that you've settled down," and then drop it down. "I heard." Wow, it's so much easier because you kinda stretch yourself, and then it's easier when you try it lower. That could help. Have you tried a pistachio green eye shade? It'd suit you so well. Thank you, Ryan Rossellini. I really appreciate that. I love eyeshadow. Who doesn't? No, I love makeup and stuff. It's definitely fun. So thank you for that. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I'll let y'all know how it goes. Yeah, so that's what I'd recommend, little tips and tricks for if you feel like the beginning's too harsh. Um, but I was just thinking about I was singing Love Story by Taylor Swift yesterday, and I was having a really hard time with it because it's one of those songs where it's like it's very speaky, but it's kind of sits high and it's very wordy. We were both young when I first saw you, and it's in a very awkward place in my voice. Um, Favorite color? I love green is my favorite color too, actually. So when you are trying to do something that's really wordy, that can be really tough. So I tried everything. I was like, "Okay, well, I'm over singing this song." Grabbed the microphone, sang it in the microphone. That kinda helped, but then I was like, it still feels uncomfortable." I feel like I'm pushing. Um, I went for a walk. That really helped, actually. It was weird. It's like sometimes you just need to mix it up. I listened to a few covers of it. Sometimes you just have to, like, break your brain a little bit and be like, "You know what? I don't need to I don't need to sing it the way I'm singing it. I can sing it in my voice, or I can sing this in my head voice." You can really make a song your own and play to your strengths. That's something I really recommend because even if you're a really experienced singer, you've sang for a while, it helps to really mix it up. Really mix it up. So anyway, I don't remember, but Love Story is one of those songs. Very wordy, and I was having the same issue where there was a lot of it was harsh right at the beginning of the phrase. "See the light, see the party, the ball gown, see you." It's just so, like, wordy, and it's just like bum, 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 really repetitive, and sometimes the way to break out of that is to be like, "You know what? I'm gonna sing it like how I sing you know, Hurt by Christina Aguilera, which starts out really soft. Seems like it was yesterday. What if I sang Love Story like that? We were both young when I first saw you. So that's what you can do. You can kind of mix it up. Hey, Jackson, thank y'all for checking in. I'm glad you guys are finding the live, even though this is part two. You may have seen part one. We had, I don't even know where it left off, but this is part two, and I answered the rest of the weekly questions. But y'all ask any questions you have, and I will answer them in the from the chat. And yeah, so we recovered from a little bit of an internet glitch. I think someone was tampering with my AT&T Wi-Fi. What do you think? Anyway, so yeah, we've talked about uvulas, microphones, placement, sliding. We've talked about a lot about tension. I hope that some people find relief to the tension and also factor in, ladies, the hormones. Our voices are affected by our hormones, our monthly hormones. Do keep that in mind, okay? There are so many if you have a thyroid disorder, anything thyroid related, you might have some changes in your voice. So, that's another thing. There are so many things that can cause, voice changes, and what's really tough sometimes you ever sing your warm-ups and you're like, "Whoa, I feel like this I'm singing the same one as usual, but it feels really high today." Well, that's because we're human and things happen. So, you know, if you stayed up really late the night before, you didn't get enough sleep, that affects your voice. Like right now, I wouldn't necessarily wanna sing right after this because I'm probably speaking too loud, I'm over speaking, and I know my voice is gonna be a little tired, so you gotta rest your voice. I noticed that with some students I've had all through the years, sometimes what happens is when people sing a lot, sometimes they'll feel like they're getting worse, but maybe it's their sometimes it's they're singing too much. It's like they get really excited about singing, they're singing all the time now, da 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 da, but guess what? You sing too much, your vocal cords get tired. It's still muscles, it's muscular, these are all muscles, and just like working out, things get tired and they have to rest. And if you look at the pictures of the vocal folds, ooh, don't recommend that, but if you have to, if you see a picture of vocal folds against your will, they're tiny. They're tiny. They're so tiny. And you got to be careful with them. I was actually if you feel bad about your voice, you feel like, "You know what? I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing this right. I'm frustrated." Well, take a look at some famous singers and the hardships they've gone through with their voices. You can be highly skilled and a really smart singer. You're profesh and you still make mistakes. You still don't do it perfectly, you know? So just go easy on yourselves. Badira Najiba, I hope I said your name correctly, asks, "Can you do a video about how to find your voice type, please?" This is such a great question, and I put it on my list to make some sort of video about this in the future, but I love the reminder, and the interest in this topic. So, it could be voice type could mean a couple of things. It could mean, like, your voice quality, your timbre, which I think I talked about in last week's live, or it could be about, are you a bass, tenor, alto, or soprano? That type of thing. So and then somebody had asked, "Can you change your voice type? Can you change" you can certainly do a lot to manipulate your voice in a safe way. So that is an option. You can expand your range. But yeah, I really think delving into, okay, do you have a naturally harsh voice or a naturally clear voice? Do you have a naturally, there's so many different words, adjectives for voices, but those are like the top two, honestly. Dark or bright, those are or talking about voice types, bass, tenor, alto, soprano, that's more your range, that's different. Kevin C, if you're singing high, you lift your palate, but it feels you can leave your voice under the soft palate or move it forward. That feels like it's up behind your nose for a nasally sound. This is a really good way to describe nasal versus head voice, or head voice versus mixed voice type idea. Presume you can just slide it forward and back to suit. Yeah, I actually yesterday during the studio class, I recommended um to warm up your voice and do vocal exercises according to what you want to sing. So if you want a more heightened sound, I need a new song to do, but we were both young when I first saw you, very light. I'm going to want to warm up my voice that way. Now let's say I want it to be more bright. That is, it's more forward. So less lifted, still a little lifted, but more forward. So we want to warm up that way. So when I want the result to be, you know, we were both young when I first saw you, I need to warm up ma instead of oh. So if you guys want a certain result, you want it to sound a certain way, think about your warm-ups. Think about how you're warming up your voice. I actually stopped warming up altogether when I was finding my mixed voice, and I'll tell you why. I had been singing classical music for so long, it was so hard for me to find my mixed voice. It was so hard because all my warm-ups were like, "Whoa, whoa," you know? It's really hard to find your mix when you're like, doing head voice all the time. It was very hard. So I just stopped. And I have some students too where we don't do warm-ups as much because some people they get in their head during warm-ups. Some people get in their head during singing a song, but some people get in their head during warm-ups. And it's good to like learn how to get out of that, obviously. But if an exercise isn't helping and it's just causing strain and confusion, then I'm totally good with finding another way to like find your placement. Okay, at all James. Sometimes it's hard to know how I want to sing for certain as I'm learning singing. This is such a good point. Forget to sing nasal or forward when going high in head voice. So, this is something that even if you're just learning to sing, this is something that unfortunately you're going to find difficult probably in your singing journey for a long time because when you when you have these options like well I could do it this way, I could do it that way, you're always going to have that back and forth. Even professionals, Billie Eilish, they go back and forth about how do I want to sing this. So it's what you're going to want to do is really like break it down. So if you want to do if it because in real time, it's so hard. It can be really hard to adjust. It can be really hard. Sometimes you can start on the right foot and whatever, but I really recommend road mapping it, like, and breaking it down and going, "Okay, for the chorus, let's just try it like this. Let's try the whole chorus like this," in my head voice. We were both young. Okay, I didn't really like that. Try it in your mix. Try it a little chesty. Try it all these different ways. Then go, I like the mix, but I don't like this one part. Map it out. Okay, I'm going to do the whole chorus in my mix, but on this part, I'm going to sing it in my head voice. So you can literally plan it to the tiniest, every little tiny note. And it gives me a lot of confidence when I do that. But you can also explore it in so many different ways. You can sing it in different accents because different accents might bring out different things. You can mimic different styles. Uh, there's so many ways you can explore that, but it's such a good point. It's like, how do I want to sing this? What's gonna be my thing? Like, like yesterday when I was singing Love Story, I'm like, this song, why did I ever like this song? Even though it's a great song. But it gets frustrating. And then sometimes you just have to like get a fresh pair of eyes on it and go, okay, what am I good at? Like, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'm really good at at, mixing head voice and mixed voice. When I sing a whole song in my mixed voice, I don't think anyone wants to hear that. I sound like a Disney princess. And frankly, I don't want to do that. So I'm like, well, I don't have to do that. I can sing this however I want. So I can sing it in my head voice and then switch to mix to give it a little more power at this part. That's play to your strengths. That's what I would say. But it's hard to know your strengths when you're just starting out. And so that's the beautiful fun part about singing. um and you guys, I always say this to my students, definitely change play with the key. I have to mention that because I forget to, and if I'm, saying this to the general public, my jazz teacher in college was the one who taught me that. Find your key. The key of the song makes a big difference. And if you're not sure how to find that, that's also about playing to your strengths. If you're not sure how to change the key, just go on your YouTube karaoke or whatever and go, okay, Adele, all I ask, low version, male version, high version. There's so much on the internet now. If it's a popular song, you'll probably be able to find different versions of the karaoke tracks. So that's one way. Another way is there's this website called Moises. You could also do that. You could plug a song in, you take the song, and then they do it for you. It's AI, and they move the song up or down for you. So you could do that. If you have a guitar, if you play guitar, get your capo out and play with that. Play with the keys. Piano, ultimate guitar, that all the tabs. If you have the pro account, you can change the key. So those are ways that I do it. Kevin C, do you always plan the songs you sing or do you wing it live for fun? This is a really good question. I'm kind of scared to answer it. Okay. Well, I definitely wing it sometimes. Let's not forget Love on Top. I did that for karaoke a few years ago and that was a train wreck. Y'all, it's always better when you plan it ahead. I'm going to be honest. It's always better. However, some songs you get lucky, if you've been singing for a while and you know it, then if it's Backstreet Boys, I've known those songs for my whole life pretty much. So if I get on stage for karaoke and sing something I know, and I wing it, it will probably go okay because I know my voice pretty well at this. I mean, I feel good about my technique. However, even still, after singing for a long time, preparation is really, really good. It always helps because it's so hard to foresee what's gonna what's gonna happen. I mean, we've all been there during karaoke, and you're like, "Wow, I thought I knew this. This is horrible." You know what I mean? But when you wing it, you must sometimes surprise yourself with new ideas. Hey, really? That's true. So, like, if you're practicing and you're just having fun, yeah, of course, like, wing it, have fun. Um, I definitely, yeah, when I'm by myself. If I'm performing for people, sometimes I'll wing it, yeah, but I would say most of the time it's good to plan it. And I'll tell you why too. When you break down a song into the little chunks like we talked about, it's just it's so eye-opening. It's illuminating to realize, "Oh my gosh, the reason why this entire section is messed up is because my placement got royally screwed up from this R or from this E or this like different things can totally throw off like a whole section. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but if that's happened to you, but I see that a lot. It's like, "Oh my gosh, this closed E vowel was just so tough and I was gearing up for it and I was doing all this stuff." So that's why it's like great to break it down because you can think, okay, how am I going to approach this high note? How am I going to approach that? Well, keep it open, and now I'm focusing my tone. It's like you kind of practice that slow transition, and then you can speed it up. And then when you perform it, it's now you've practiced it broken down many times. Yeah. So that's what I recommend. That's what I recommend. But I totally love having fun and winging it. I definitely suggest like moving around and experimenting. What if I do this on this note? You know? Yeah, definitely recommend that. Adding like a little bit of choreography. I know it sounds really silly, but it can really change your voice. I know we were talking about acting last week. It works the same with acting. You can trick your brain to do certain emotions with your actions. Like if you clench your fist, it's like, oh, all of a sudden my brain is like, I'm angry or whatever. Facial expressions, same idea. So you can kind of trick your body into feeling a certain way. Um, yeah, adding choreography. Uh, you can kind of trick your body into these emotions with your face and your body. So that sometimes, like for instance, if you want to cry in a movie, if I want to cry in a movie and I'm like not sad, okay, I think of all the things I do when I'm crying in real life. I kind of like can feel it coming back up here, the breathing is different, maybe like a somber face. It's like all these little tricks to get your brain to think, "Oh, I'm gonna cry," or "I want this song to be bouncy." So, yeah, then bounce, you know what I mean? That's what I mean by adding choreography. Like, you want it to smooth out, you know, think this type of motion, whatever. You can make up all kinds of stuff for yourself that helps you. We actually, when in college, when we were learning how to conduct, I was not a master at conducting, but something they taught us is like your hand is an indicator for like how people are receiving your direction. So if your hand is like this, that might affect the way people sing. If you're going, um, love on top, ooh, baby. I can't remember how that song goes right now because I'm trying to conduct it. But see how it was like automatically I want to sing it flat. But if they trained us to like hold your hand like this, da, 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 ba. It's like it kind of mimics like the voice. Like you want the voice to be fluid and light and all that stuff. So yeah, it's so crazy. It's all this your body is so connected to it's literally connected to your voice. I mean, I don't know how it's not a very profound statement, but here I am yapping. Oh Lord. Yeah, great questions, you guys. I had so many nitty-gritty ones this week, and they were all really great. And thank you so much for hopping on the part two live for all of you who popped in here or have popped in. And please keep the questions coming. I'll stay on definitely a little bit longer and answer y'all's questions. Um, but yeah, and I always have to say intermittently, it's like radio, if you wanna get in touch with me, just go to my website, oliviapeck.com, and once this video uploads, it'll have all the notes in the description, so, anyway, yeah. So, yeah, adding choreography, talked about that, talked about everything from placement. If you guys are confused about what placement means, it basically, Kevin, you were talking about this a lot. It's, is it in my head voice? Is it in my mix voice? Is it in my chest voice? That's placement. And if you are first starting out to sing, you're going to want to try to ask yourself, what are my strengths? Am I really good at singing in my head voice? Make note of that. Are you do you know what your range is? Where does your voice sound best? And you can figure this out by doing slides. Oh, that's a very good indicator because if you're sliding, it's kind of a tricky thing to do. If you know where your voice sounds just the best, and you might have a couple sections, make note of that. And what you want to do is take those strengths, and that's your starting point. That's where you start. And then you can start to add on, all right, well, I love this. I'm singing this really well in my head voice because that's my strength and I'm singing in my perfect range. But you know what? I want to add a little bit of power. Okay, then look at how to strengthen a certain part using your mix, your newfound mix voice, or whatever the case may be. There are different ways to go about it. Oh, great. We have Willy Wonka. Do you want a Wonka bar? Always. Always. I actually auditioned for a Willy Wonka show a few years ago, but it was canceled because of the lockdown. Anyway, uplifting comment. Thank you. Yes. Oh, that actually really reminds me of question I had today from a student about. I was actually in studio class, I think, about eating certain things before you sing. So chocolate, dairy, um, dairy generally might give you phlegm, so that's something to be aware of. As I was talking about, I love coffee. I will always drink it. I don't care really what anyone says. I'll always drink it, even to my detriment. Anyway, that can cause acid reflux, that kind of thing. Tea strips your throat. It's great if you have a cold, but make sure you drink honey when you drink tea, that kind of thing. Cough drops. Some of them are great. Some of them with the menthol, they might dry you out too much. These are the things to think about, in terms of eating and drinking before you sing. Most of the time, doesn't really matter. Alcohol is a big one. You got to be careful with alcohol. It dries you out. And sometimes we over sing maybe when we drink. That's the kind of stuff you got to be careful. And definitely, dries you out. Sometimes I can whistle, but I am not a soprano. You know, isn't the voice amazing? This is why, categorizing your voice, um, categorizing your voice bass, tenor, alto, soprano, it's just a starting point, you know, uh, because there's nothing more of a bummer than putting your voice in a box and then you've got it's like your voice, your little voice you're singing in, the world. You might have a world of untapped potential. Maybe, maybe not, but I would definitely err on the side, you know what? I can sing this in my low voice. What am I doing? Like my low voice is great. You know? That happens a lot. It's like I was just talking to a student the other day and I'm like, you could sing this song like you sing the other song, but for some reason in this song you sing it like this. You totally change your tone, but you could do what you're doing in this. It's like we just we put parameters around ourselves sometimes, and that's totally human. I do it for every song I sing. I mean, it's human nature. You try to give yourself a roadmap before you sing it. But try to think outside of the box and think, you know what? I could I could sing this like country. I could sing this like Billie Eilish. I could sing this. There are so many options, like the Bee Gees or whatever, ABBA. Just think outside the box. Get crazy, kind of like what Kevin was saying. Like, uh, explore, wing it sometimes. Yeah, when you're practicing, kind of try it different ways, different ways. Um, and we've got Willy Wonka talking about different things in the comment section. That's great. Keeping it keeping it nice and light. All right. Does anyone have any burning questions gonna probably wrap this up soon. I have loved answering your questions. If you are watching this, definitely check out part one. There's a live stream on the same exact day, and it was cut off because of the internet. So check it out for part one. This is part two. Uh, bigger, better. Part two. It's a little bit longer here, and we went into depth on all kinds of things, and I'm so sorry for part one being short, but I'm glad that you all are here. And shout out to all of the people following and like asking questions, being part of the singing community, because you know what? You all have helped not just each other, you've really helped each other with, answering singing questions and putting really great suggestions out there, but you also help me teach better. Like, every single person that I teach helps me be a better teacher, so, yeah, definitely air 5 to all of you guys. And, anyway, if there's any more burning questions, I'll give it, like, a few more seconds. You can ask them in the comments, but I'm just gonna kinda wrap this up soon. Uh yeah, I absolutely love helping y'all, and that's a huge reason why I am doing this, is because at the end of the day, my favorite thing is just helping people. It's not I'm not a business-minded person, and YouTube is a way for me to, like, do this in a really fun way and keep my heart in it, because I love teaching, and it's when you're a creative person and it's like, well, I want to reach people. Writing a Facebook post is just not the same as being on here with you guys, answering your questions, meeting you all in class and stuff. So, highly if recommend reach out to me. I'm the exact same in lessons as I am right here. I think we can attest to that. And, you can ask me how to get started if that's something you're looking for. But I'll be back. I'll be back next Thursday. And I really appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Enjoy or morning wherever you are. Big thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next one and in the next video. Bye.